I had poured months of planning, money, and emotion into making her birthday unforgettable. From the very start, it had been my idea, my late-night Pinterest boards, my Excel budget sheets, my sleepless hours on the phone with florists, caterers, and venue managers. It was never about outshining anyone. It was about her. I wanted the woman I'd shared for years of marriage to feel seen, adored, and celebrated. The rooftop venue downtown was stunning. Perched high above the city's hum, bathed in warm fairy lights that twinkled like stars strung across the skyline. The floral arrangements were exotic and breathtaking. Orchids from Singapore, Peruvian lilies, and her favorite white peonies flown in just for this night. A 5-layer cake stood at the center, a perfect harmony of chocolate and vanilla swirls, her favorite combination. There was a champagne tower, glasses stacked in delicate symmetry, catching the ambient light in crystal glints. Everything was tailored for her. Every detail, every dollar, every beat of energy was mine. She looked radiant that night. The dress we had chosen together months earlier fit her like poetry. Her smile was dazzling as she floated from one guest to another, laughing, sipping champagne, commanding the room like it was her stage. I stood a few feet away, dressed in my best suit, watching it all with quiet pride, emotionally spent but fulfilled. This, I thought, was what love looked like, effort without complaint. Then she took the microphone. I expected a grateful toast, a thank you, a mention of the man who had made this possible, a nod to our journey. Instead, she raised her glass and began to speak of Damon Rivera. With a glowing smile, she called him her guiding light, praising his unwavering support and presence during what she referred to as difficult times. I stood frozen, still smiling, though the expression now felt foreign on my face. Damon, a name she had casually mentioned before, just a co-worker, she'd said, barely worth acknowledging. Now he was her North Star. The shift was seismic. I forced a breath through clenched teeth, still hoping, absurdly, that she'd follow up with something about me. But she didn't. Instead, she turned to me with that smug little grin that made my stomach knot. "This is for you, honey," she said sweetly, holding out a small designer gift bag. The crowd chuckled softly, thinking this was part of some inside joke. Inside the bag was a neatly folded black designer t-shirt. Across the front, in bold, taunting white letters, "Divorced." Silence dropped over the rooftop, like a falling curtain. For a long second, no one knew how to react. Then a few people laughed, awkwardly, unsure if they were supposed to. She beamed like she'd just delivered a punchline on live television. My hands trembled. My lungs ached from holding my breath. After everything I had done, everything I had poured into this marriage, and this night, this was her gesture of appreciation? I didn't shout. I didn't curse or cause a scene. I simply placed the bag down on the nearest table. Then, from my jacket pocket, I pulled out the Cartier bracelet I had spent months saving for, elegant gold understated, a perfect match for her taste. I set it beside the cake, in full view of everyone. Then I turned and walked away. The cool night air hit me like a slap, but it cleared my head. The sounds of laughter, music, and clinking glasses faded behind me as I made my way down the street. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I was done. That shirt wasn't a joke. It was her exit strategy dressed as humor, and I wasn't going to stick around to play the fool. Ironically, I had already been rebuilding myself. Quietly, I'd started managing a tech startup with Sasha and Omar. We'd been grinding away at a promising SaaS product, and it gave me something that my marriage hadn't in a long time: purpose, belonging, control. An hour later, I got a text from Mark. "Damon quit today. She's freaking out at work." Of course he did. The man she had practically serenaded in front of our friends and family didn't stick around. And now she was flailing, unsure how to patch the void. I didn't feel glee, but I didn't feel sympathy either. Lisa called the next day. She hesitated before spilling the latest. My wife had tried to launch a podcast, something about women reclaiming their narrative. It flopped. Only one episode aired before it was torn apart online. The reviews were brutal. The views were abysmal. She was posting on Instagram again, desperately trying to regain the followers she'd lost. But every time, someone brought up the rooftop party and the shirt. I barely responded. just drove through the city in silence, the skyline now a blur, barely registering Lisa's words. That moment, the party, the public humiliation, it had become her brand now. A joke everyone was still laughing about, but no longer with her. She had built a persona around being admired, desired, adored. But it was propped up by people like me, those who stay behind the scenes, holding her up. Without us, she couldn't stand. Meanwhile, my world was expanding. Gregory, my boss, called me into his office and slid a document across the desk. "You're speaking at the Next Gen Business Conference next month," he said with a smile. "Nate requested you specifically." I blinked. Nate was a major investor, a power player. I left that office floating, my feet barely touching the ground. It wasn't a global TED Talk, but it was mine, earned, not gifted. And then the real call came, an email from a well-known professor I'd met years ago at a seminar. He was hosting a business conference in Dubai and wanted me to guest lecture. "Your name's been coming up in conversation," he wrote. "People are impressed." I reread the email 3 times before responding. Then I said yes without a moment's hesitation. That evening, I met Sasha and Omar at the diner. Our software was messy, still buggy, but it was progressing, and they saw me not as a backup plan, but as a partner, a strategist, someone they relied on. "You're our secret weapon," Sasha said, grinning over his fries. I hadn't felt that kind of respect in years. At home, I pinned the Dubai invitation to my vision board, right beside sketches of the house I wanted to design, and a photo of Thailand, where I dreamed of running along beaches at sunrise. I started running again, too. 6 miles each morning before dawn, the cold air biting at my lungs, sweat clinging to my skin. Each step cleared my head. My body was stronger, leaner, my mind sharper, my heart lighter. She, on the other hand, was fading. Her job teetered, her podcast dead, her online persona slowly imploding. People stopped admiring. They started mocking. Her divorce stunt had gone viral for all the wrong reasons. I didn't hate her. I barely thought about her anymore. But knowing that I had been left behind at a party I paid for, mocked in front of 60 people, and still ended up thriving while she unraveled, that wasn't revenge. That was balance.